Hi, welcome. Please have a seat. I want to start by thanking you very much for being here with us today. Let's try and figure out who got to bed the latest this morning. Paul, was that you? You look like you could be you. Anyone who got to bed after midnight? 1 a.m.? 2 a.m.? 3 a.m.? Oh my God, I think Nathan, you win it. A big hand of applause for Nathan, yay. Well, thank you again for joining us. This is the final of our Telecom series at the Data and AI Summit. So as you know, we started off with a Telecom forum where we heard from 4 customers. We then moved to a panel discussion yesterday where we heard from a further 4 customers. And today is about demos and dialogues. Some of the things that stand out for me is that the move into AI really transforming telco is no more hype or hope. It's real, it's delivering real results, and our customers are benefiting. But there's a lot more for us to do. I still feel that we are right at the beginning, because where we are engaged with telco, we are normally engaged with 1 or 2 of the 8 business functions. And for us, we have an incredible opportunity as a telco industry, as a partner community, together with Databricks, to really help our customers. Because the results we are seeing are extraordinary, and having spent 20 years in telecom myself, I know for a fact that when you are serving 100 million customers every day, every month, how else can you make them feel special, seen, heard, and their issues resolved at the first point? AI is the key to make this happen. And as we heard so many times, AI is only going to work effectively with the trust and governance that our customers need if their data is in check. Now, one of the key reasons we are hosting this session is because many of our telecom customers ask us, how do we go faster? As an industry, many have shared with us, even this week, that telco has, in many cases, a smaller number of data scientists compared to some of the other industries. And the question often comes up, who are the partners that we should be engaging in or engaging with? And what are the models that are available with the partner community to get us at speed to the solutions that we need? And so today's session is really about showcasing some of our partner solutions, particularly the ones that are so prevalent in telco today. So we have a very fast-moving session. We will hear from 3 partners, 7 minutes each. We are going to start with Accenture. We will then move, and Prakash will be leading the way. We will then move to Wipro. Randeep will be leading the way, and we will end with Capgemini, and Steve will be leading the way. And everything that you hear from them today is anchored back to the outcomes that telecoms are looking for in the areas of customer experience, revenue growth, network and field tech efficiency, and protecting the telco. So with that, please join me in welcoming our very first speaker, Prakash from Accenture. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nevash, for setting up the context. And you rightly talked about the lack of data scientists in telco world. And this is where Databricks breaches that gap. A lot of these accelerators that they have built behind the scene makes it very easy for a new user to create the business use case and deliver it without needing a lot of resources or the workforce per se. So we will see how it is done through our 3 use cases, which is on churn report, network capacity, and campaign promotion. I'll not go much into the outcome, but I wanted to talk about the 3 features that sits overarching, which is ask ad hoc questions, standard recurring questions, and provide feedback, rate answer, and demonstrate issues for the real-time interactions. So keeping this short, I will go, what is the engine behind that creates this? Very much Unity Catalog governed, very much attribute driven, and you have the consumption layer and the ingestion layer. Ingestion is where you bring in your data. Consumption is where your business comes in and get all the details. And everything else inside this Genie workplace, Databricks take care of you. And how does Databricks take care of this entire 3 use cases together? I will show you. And while you see this video, while you see this video, I'll also give you a narration of what's happening. You see the AI BI dashboards that will come up next has been pre-built. The pre-built for the users, for the business users who are used to Power BI, Tableau kind of dashboards. Once they go through their dashboards and they have a meeting in, say, 5 minutes, this is where the pre-built demo come in. They're meeting in the 5 minutes with their CXOs. They don't want to chase an engineer and say, give me this data, give me that data. They will have the ability to actually write in the language that they understand. It doesn't have to be a very grammatically correct language, but then you have the ability to type in your language and then get the insights that you want for the meeting that is happening in 5 minutes. Not only that, you've seen it here that based on the contextual knowledge of the business users and the engineers who have worked on this for over the months, you can have frequently asked questions documented, and you can click on the button and get the insights. And while you're getting the insights, your mind is running fast to answer the questions that your C-suite is asking. That is when you can actually have all of these dashboards developed on the fly. You can ask it to be pie chart, a bar graph. You want to know that if I got to a certain answers, how those answers were derived at, and this is where you're looking at. That this particular user is no data scientist herself, but she has asked for a certain pie chart to be drawn, and she gets the answer. And then when you go to the campaign effectiveness, we are getting all of these answers and the table data that readies this business user to answer the queries on the fly when asked in a meeting. So the premise behind having this AI BI Genie is answers on the fly. Get the accurate answers. Don't spend too much of your workforce in creating this, and minimize or make it, say, 0 dependency on a user, on an engineer for a questions that wasn't expected 30 minutes before or 3 days before. It's just 5 minutes or on the fly in the meeting, you're getting the answers. You're typing it, and then you're getting all the insights that you need. You can scan this and know more about AI BI Genie. I'll move on to a similar use case, which is tackling fraud in telco, which, regardless of geography that you belong to, is common. I lived in North America. I was very, very frustrated with this telco fraud that's what's happening. I now live in India. It is equally worse there as well. So how do we handle this? So you would have seen the accelerator that we built using the Databricks native features of AutoML, feature store, etc. This accelerates us enabling real-time fraud detections for very rapid results. Because now, when you get a call, you don't need to see whether this is from known number or the unknown number. There should be a way to find out that this is a spam on the fly and you don't pick the call. This accelerator helps you identify those. And when you're looking at that, you see we have built it 3 different pillars. One is where we define the problem with respect to your call and SMS frauds that's happening, and what are the different types of fraud which would be happening in the region, and then how we have created the solutions. At the bottom, you'll see the whole implementation at the high level. It looks 3-4 steps, but behind the scene, what Databricks does is that you give me the context, you give me the data, let me figure out what works the best for you. You can give me the feedback whether this is the right accuracy or not accuracy, but behind the scene, you have to be a good data analyst. I will do the data science job for you. I'll pick the model. I'll give you the outcome. You just tell me if this outcome is good enough for you to be trusted. And we'll see this video. Can we play this? Technical glitches are common. For some reason, I don't see the mouse here. If someone is here, can you play this? I can see the mouse there. So I'll narrate this story for the time that we have. You see that we have the users across geographies are frustrated with the spam call that you get, and yearly the spam call that you have is 5.8 billion, right? And it is not easy to reduce those, maintaining the same level of trust that a call should have, right? You shouldn't be not accepting the call that you should be. You first start with the dashboard where MSISDN has been identified, and then of those calls which are happening, what are these different kind of calls that can happen, the fraud rather. So you have the data that you know through MSISDN from which number you're getting the call, and then what are the categories? Is this a residential customer who is misusing the plan that you're offering to them? You have those counts available. And once you have seen those, there has to be a way to understand that how this has been derived at. You can go to the experiment, you can see how you've configured, you've given to the AutoML to decide from the back end what has to be done. And this AutoML now will take care of, yes. So now it is taking care of everything that you want to build. So what I as a data analyst would have brought in is the data, is the fraud through the MSISDN that has been happening. Everything else, this workflow, Databricks generates it for you. It uses feature store, it uses AutoML, it puts the overarching governance using Unity Catalog so that your most sensitive data has never gone out of the right users who need to have access. And there you go. You have your insights available when you don't have the workforce needed in the same number to build some dashboards of the yesteryears, right? So that is my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Prakash, for an interesting demo. So hi, this is Randeep here from Wipro. So we have been in the space serving telcos for well over a decade now, right? And partnering with them through their transformation journeys. And I think one thing that we see stands out in the market today as an opportunity for telcos to have an uptick in their revenue is this opportunity to serve the SMB business, right, which is the small and medium business in a much better way, right? And a part of it is driven also by the changing patterns, changing buying patterns of SMBs, right? They are expecting a very digital experience. They are expecting hyper-personalized experiences. They want to be sold as being sold to enterprises. But what's the challenge here, right? There is the sheer scale of these businesses, right? There are millions of businesses over there. The ability to reach them in a personalized manner is best achieved through AI, right? And that's where we have built a suite of accelerators/solutions in the entire sales and marketing cycle, right? So if you look at, how do we prioritize leads for these small and medium businesses, right? It can be the topmost customers who are within, like use geospatial information to understand people who are within, the fiber layout, and then get personalized offers to them, personalized pricing bundles to them, help them convert the order faster, the order intake/onboarding time, cut that by 80%. That's the way you delight them with customer experience, and then tackle through the entire service value chain, right? So that's the entire sales and marketing influence that we have built together. And we're going to show a small sliver today, truly rapid fire demo. We're going to pick up a smaller piece of it, which is the order intake process, right? So while we onboard a client, how can we use agentic AI systems to kind of speed up that order intake process, right? So that is what we're going to look at today. And this is the quick example for that. So this is our order intake system, okay? So this is an agentic AI driven system that can actually look at, I think I am able to not see the, Yeah, it's difficult to see the pointer out there. But this is an example of the system that we have built. So what is the challenge here, right? Order intake is a very siloed process that we see across customers, right? It takes weeks to process the order. A lot of the challenges lie in not only, the kind of the way the order intake is done, which is a lot of Excel and Outlook-based processing, right? You get orders in emails, and considering the number of SKUs that a telco has, it becomes very difficult to process all of this, right? So, and there are a lot of tools in isolation that help you solve it, right? Like there are intelligent document processing engines which are very good now. There are rule processing engines, but the orchestration between all of them is what ultimately solves the process, right? Because, for example, if you look through this process itself, when typically an order is sent by, say, a sales guy to the tech ops team, half of the order information would sit in the body of the email, like half of it would be spread in the attachments, right? And it becomes difficult to kind of collate all of this together, compare it with the site configurations, right? Compare with the master service agreement, right? These validations with all this unstructured content needs to happen. And this is where we have used our Vega framework, which is called Wipro Enterprise Generative AI Framework. It sits on top of Databricks. It helps chunk documents so that insights are generated better out of it. So in a nutshell, it uses the core Databricks capabilities like Unity Catalog, etc., and gives you the summarized view of the order. So it has gone through these email attachments, it has extracted this information, and it runs validations on top of it, right? So you no longer have to keep monitoring your email box. A person is there only to address the exceptions that fall out of it, right? So you can see the results here. You see how it has kind of fetched data from even attachments, from the body of the email, etc., right? I'll just see if I can. Yeah, move the video along a little bit. Yeah, but as you can see over here, you can see these attachments happening, right? And this is core to the entire order intake process, right? Like, and again, why do you use agentic AI systems here? The ability to orchestrate between these different tool sets so that you can get to the right output is very critical to being able to straight through process the entire order, right? And there can be a lot of exceptions that happen here, right? So for example, if the site configurations don't match, one of the biggest problems that we have in telcos is, for serving the SMB business, having a service technician go out into the site and then not being able to service it because the configurations don't match, right? Because the order intake process was not done and the service configurations don't match. That's the, you spend the entire cycle having a service technician go out to the site and realize that that does not work, right? So that's the kind of acceleration that we are building in the entire process. And if you look through some of these examples that you see over here, this is how it is actually getting factored in. So I'll just show you one example of how these rules are getting run. So this is the moment, right? Like it realizes that one of the workflow validations has failed. Like the site had a bandwidth that is incompatible with the order that it has been received, and it auto triggers that email, right? So it uses that same configuration to reach back to the sales agent, get that revised configuration, and is able to kind of straight through process the order with minimal interventions. What it leads, where we are doing this with a customer, it has been more than 80% cut in the time taken to process the order, leading to like maximum customer delight that we can hope for. So that's the kind of impact that this has been able to deliver. Again, it is powered by the framework that we have built for GenAI agents that sit on top of Databricks, right? So that's the quick version of the demo that we wanted to showcase. We will just close with a quick view on how these agents are built. For example, when we build these agents out, we have developed a natural language interface on top of the system, right? And this is how some of the Databricks components are kind of used in building out the system. So that's the order intake that we wanted to showcase. Again, as we said, this is a small sliver of the entire framework that we have. And this is what kind of powers it, right? This is the nuts and bolts beneath what you saw. For example, the Wipro Enterprise Generative AI platform that you sit here, it uses all these mechanisms of contextual chunking, guardrails, and that is used to build these agents. And what you saw in action is a lot of these agents coming together in an agentic framework, right? And you just saw service delivery. One of the order entry mechanisms is what you saw. But we can assemble these agents together to do multiple processes, right? And that's where the entire agentic framework comes into picture. So there is a lot of potential in kind of designing this modular framework. And that gives you the opportunity to pick and choose agents and build a complete landscape of agents can address use cases across the life cycle. So yeah, that's what we had to show today. And over to the next one.
Cool. Right. Now for some extra excitement. As ever with demos, I had some slight problems with videos getting across. So now we're going to connect a new laptop, press a button, and see if it all works. Join me in this exciting journey. Are we ready? And that button. Drum roll, please. Oh, hang on. So we say entire screen. Start mirroring. There we go. There we go. We're fantastic. We are here. I'm Steve Jones. I'm the EVP for Data-Driven Business and Agentic Architecture at Capgemini, with a side hustle in doing rather a lot of work in the telco sector. Was going to think about what I was going to present today, kind of covered over some things where we're doing with quite a lot of telcos around the customer engagement side and those areas, but I thought, no, let's pick something to scare anybody who works in telco and talk about why you actually should care about AI and why it isn't just a little thing. So I'll say a opening statement to have people start throwing bread rolls at me and things, which is TM level 5 is not the destination of automation in telco networks. TM level 5 should be considered to be the foundational base of your next AI-driven business model, because that is what the future of this market is going to be about. To take a slight step back, but to look at the broader context that it sits in, which is, sorry to pick people who weren't from Databricks, but he was presenting at the conference here last year, the one at the bottom, and the one on the top is obviously a core partner, but I think it's a really important point to make. 50% of all of the decisions in all businesses will be made by AI by 2030. The rest will be assisted by it to a certain level. This is not a little shift. This is a massive transformation. In terms of what this means, from a package implementation perspective, and telcos love a good package implementation. How many billing systems does everybody have? If everybody's only got one, that probably means you've only been around for about 3.5 minutes, because I think it's the 4th minute when the second billing system goes live. The future of package implementations is to be implemented using AI. The transactional foundation is a commodity. Differentiation is within the AI layer. That's a fundamental shift. The point that was made by Jensen from NVIDIA was that actually when you think about the future of all of these things and they're using them within the business, they live in the business. They're being managed by the business. That means I need an HR for agents. If anybody's ever worked with an HR department, you'll know the goal of HR is not to make employees happy. Most HR departments are phenomenal at achieving that aim of not making employees happy. They are there to manage risk. That's what HR departments are about, to make sure you onboard people the same way. You make sure you do the background checks the same way. You pay people, you review people, you run the standard processes. The business manages the people, but I need somebody to manage the existential and systemic risk associated with having those things. What that means is the future of every business, including telcos, is about having digital employees that work with staff, work with customers, and work, really importantly, with reality. If you want to know a reason why at Capgemini we're really excited about Lakebase and the fact that we're moving towards operational speed, is that most of these agents have to work at operational speed. If you're talking to a customer in the call center, it's not good going, I'll get back to you in 3 hours after it's all synced back through to the data lake, and can I phone you back as a result of that? No, I need to be able to react to the call that I'm speaking to based on a contextual switch which is in the now. That's the future. What does that mean when we look at the whole piece and we look at the infrastructure? And this is why we think working with, why we do a lot of work in this sector with Databricks is right now, everybody's estate within your organization is basically based around the same thing. I know we've got the OSS BSS separation, and I am going to cover OSS in a second, but basically, a bunch of technical business processes we like to pretend are real. which actually aren't real, because actually there's a whole set of implicit processes that exist within the organization that actually run it. Then I've got a bunch of transactional systems, and then we have the post-transactional data world, which is what has already happened. AI does not live in that world. When we look at this organization, we look at the operational side. The network in a telco is the fundamental differentiator of a telco. It does not work at post-transactional speed. You cannot have a call that waits for a sync. It has to work at operational speed. That means that data has to live at operational speed. It has to be engaged with AI at operational speed. There is still the post-transactional world, which is there for collaboration between areas of the business. But it starts with the ability to use things like Lakebase to be accurate at operational speed. That is not my slide, that's somebody else's slide, so that makes it exciting. Situational intelligence, how do I adapt to the moment and how do I link that moment back to the overall view of an organization? That's the separation of concerns in all of this. Very important to think about how we're delivering it. Now, what's that mean in terms of networks? I'm going to go through this very quickly and then on to the next one is, what we're talking about in the future is we think that the network and TM level 5 is a foundation, because right now telcos provide connections, not connectivity. And AI is about to completely change that. This was something we presented at the IEEE conference in AI last year, which is basically saying that if you look at things like Private Relay from Apple or Google's One VPN thing that they've got, those right now are just providing a very simple rerouting. However, what can I do with Gen AI? I can dynamically, with agents, assign things to networks. If I can create an IPv6 ILA to a person and have them provision services and devices to that ILA, I can secure it, I can manage it, and I can operate it as connectivity at the individual level. We think that is the future of networking, not for telcos to provide connections, but to provide connectivity. And you need to be able to do that by doing it with AI. There is no other way. Lots of boxes. My favorite personal one on all of this is multi-altitude mesh network, which I will actually say in a second. So let's go through an incredibly quick speed of video talking about all of this. This is what we call dark NOC, a headless operational problem. What is the problem with connectivity? I need to speak to a client to find out what is the network they need. They're a large global organization. They've got lots of organizations. I want to sell them connectivity, not a bunch of connections. I'm the telco. I'm the expert in connections, but I'm also the expert in networks. That means when I work with them, speaking incredibly quickly, as you look at the top, I need to be able to look at which part within this. Do I need to use Leo within this? Do I need to use a WAN within this? What are my connectivity pieces that I need to model? That needs to be assisted by AI to be able to design a network that is going to be on the customer side. We work through with the agents to be able to design out a network infrastructure which is on top of the telco infrastructure, but is the telco infrastructure and third-party infrastructure is invisible to the client. Model the SLAs. How do I monitor it? How do I understand it? It's always dashboards and those pieces, but the point is this has to be automated. Then looking at those SLA definitions of when do I trigger? I'm managing this for the customer based on my SLAs. How do I therefore identify that threats have occurred? If a threat occurs in this world of AI, they occur, I need to respond quickly. That is going to be an AI automation problem. Most businesses will not have the capability. So the ability to provide a network to a customer means identifying the threat, identifying within the customer's network where it is, identifying what you need to do with it. Got to have the movie script code if we're doing a demo on network interface. Got to have some code around there, mandatory, I believe. There's another one coming as well for anybody who works in network infrastructure. But being able to generate all of those configurations on the fly within the customer's network to be able to say, this is the changes we're applying. How do we actually then, there's been an incident, we're making the responses. How do we escalate it? Again, I'm providing this within the customer's infrastructure. How do I identify the individual pieces? How do I use my agents to be able to alert the client what is going on a network I am managing and provisioning on their behalf? How do I provision tickets into their systems to tell them I am managing a threat on your network with my agents within the environment? That's something we have called ISS Genie on Dark NOC. That then goes through, animated grid piece, always exciting with all those, to be able to look at how I respond to the ticket and be able to identify how I'm escalating this and what I should do with it. automatically responding in incredibly fast time, making the initial threat response, putting in place initial blocks and barriers if required based on policy. Escalating to a person on the client side to say, what is the decision I need you to make? This is the decision I need you to make. That's then the escalation within the individual to say, can I do these actions? Yes, you can do these actions. The agent completes the actions. It closes it down. It responds to the incident. It's escalated to the client. But this is our agent on the telco side. It is managing the network on behalf of those and then filling in the tickets, responding to the individual tickets, doing all of the paperwork automation so the client knows what I have done in provisioning connectivity rather than just a bunch of connections. So in terms of where that all ends up, the human confirms, the agent closes the ticket, we run through the entire process, and at the end of it, it should mean, if I've got my timings right coming on the next bit, is the agent then gets to the end, writes the emails, produces those pieces, sends it off, the ticket is closed, and then we send the recommendations in terms of this is why this threat happened, this is how we recommend you work if possible. Obviously, the pieces that we've animated are not part of the base solution, but if anybody's ever seen a network automation solution, they are the worst demos in the world because it's this light has slightly changed. Now this light changes. That is it. The point I'm trying to make in all of this is the reason why we think AI is important is because it is the future revenue strategy for telcos. When you talk about what you are going to sell to customers, we're already doing the pieces, a brilliant presentation was done in terms of this is how we can change customer engagement around using agents and automation of those pieces, reducing the costs. But if you haven't got a product in the future, then there is no point optimizing that. The thing that stops telcos becoming just a utility, sellers of just the pipe, is the ability to shift from moving to sell connections, the endpoint, the SIM, the phone, the premise, to selling connectivity. Telcos are one of two types of organization today that know how to manage networks at scale, securely, and operate them. The other ones are the hyperscalers. And what I will say is this, if you haven't looked at how you transform from a connections business to a connectivity business, Apple will, Google will, AWS will, and Microsoft will. That's the future, why we think AI is so important and existential for telcos. We can solve problems today with it, but let's be clear, it's also about transforming fundamentally what it means to be a telco, to move towards a world where there are billions of devices, millions of services, and no human being, no consumer can control that. Somebody has to control the network infrastructure for individuals against which all that is connected and which all that is secured. And we believe that should be telcos.
Stephen,
Yeah.
thank you so much. We may just have you stay up the front. I may invite Steve Guerin, any of our other speakers who are still here, to see if there are any questions. But, you know, clearly today it's all about outcomes.
Yeah.
Unless you can deliver the outcome to the customer to improve their experience, the network operations, it's a pretty hard push. But what we are seeing is real-life examples and success stories. Let's just open up to any questions.